One strike at dawn shattered the West's plans. How did their strongest defenses fail when it mattered most? Just this morning, a Russian precision missile hit Kharkiv, destroying a covert cache of Flamingo missiles. These state-of-the-art weapons, secretly delivered by Western allies, were intended to anchor a sweeping offensive. In mere moments, the heart of this strategy was left in ruins. The attack was not random. It landed at first light, precisely when air defenses reached their lowest alert. This chilling accuracy hints at more than luck. It suggests someone deep inside Western command leaked sensitive radar and deployment schedules, leaving a critical arsenal exposed at the worst possible time. Even more unsettling, Western leaders and media have offered only silence. No urgent briefings, no clarifications. The quiet feels like an admission. The alliance's best minds were blindsided by intelligence Russia should never have had. This incident has ripped open a vulnerability that was thought to be sealed. It exposes a flaw in NATO's shield, one with the potential to alter not just this conflict, but the very balance of power in the region. If such tightly held secrets can be unraveled in a single morning, what other weaknesses remain hidden? Miss the real reason behind this shift, and you risk misunderstanding how the war and the world may change next. The fallout could reach far beyond the front line, impacting economies, energy security, and global stability. Let's break down what really happened and why this strike is not just a setback. It is the first move in a dangerous new phase of the conflict. To grasp the full scale of this event, we need to peel back the layers behind the strike. Who gained, who lost, and where does this leave both sides? What covert operation did Western powers plan on Kharkiv's doorstep, and why did it collapse before a single shot was fired? In the tense weeks before disaster struck, Western convoys streamed into the borderlands. Each night, new shipments of cutting-edge equipment arrived, while Western advisors worked double shifts, training local forces in secrecy. The sense of an impending offensive hung in the air. Something unprecedented was in motion. At the center of this buildup were the enigmatic Flamingo missiles. Cloaked in secrecy, these Western-supplied weapons were meant to tip the balance, a hidden arsenal designed for a strike the world would never see coming. All indicators suggested a decisive action was just days away. Then, as dawn broke, everything unraveled. Russian forces executed a surgical strike, hitting precisely during a fleeting gap in Western radar coverage, a vulnerability planners had missed. In only minutes, the secret stockpile was obliterated, its destruction lighting up the horizon. How did it happen so swiftly? The West fatally underestimated Russian intelligence. Believing their logistics invisible, Western strategists failed to grasp the reach of Moscow's surveillance, a lethal blend of human assets and advanced technology. The Russian victory was no fluke. It was the result of meticulous, unseen intelligence work. The aftermath was devastating. Billions of dollars in high-tech arms and vital supplies vaporized in a burst of fire. Critical supply lines collapsed, plunging Western command into confusion and silence. If these vulnerabilities remain hidden, the consequences could spiral. Future Western strategies may unravel before they even begin. The security of Europe and the global order now hangs by a thread. But what made these advanced systems so easy to target? And why did protective measures fail at the moment of greatest need? To understand the disaster, we must peel back the layers of secrecy and miscalculation. The answers lie deep within the intelligence war already raging beneath the surface. How did Western defenses become so exposed? And why do sanctions or stern warnings seem useless against these evolving threats? The Russian precision strike on Kharkiv did more than just obliterate a hidden Western missile stockpile. It revealed a deeper flaw: the West's dependence on routine technology and outdated procedures. NATO's once vaunted air defense networks were caught off guard by a mix of Russian espionage and impeccable timing. Striking at first light, when radar vigilance is weakest, Russian forces easily slipped past layered defenses, exposing a gaping hole in Western readiness. Inside NATO command centers, alarm spread rapidly. Specialists raced to piece together how such an attack succeeded under their watch. News of the breach rattled global markets. Energy prices surged as anxiety swept across Europe. Suddenly, Western technological prestige seemed hollow, and economic stability more precarious than anyone had admitted. The fallout did not stop there. Political fractures inside Europe widened. Some leaders demanded a total overhaul of sanctions, arguing they hurt domestic economies more than they restrained Russia. Others insisted on doubling support for Ukraine, fearing that hesitation would only invite more aggression. Heated debates erupted behind closed doors, exposing NATO's deep divisions over whether to escalate or negotiate. Meanwhile, Russia advanced its tactics. By merging real-time intelligence, sophisticated drones, and relentless cyber intrusions, Moscow created new military advantages the West had underestimated. This was not brute force, but a showcase of modern warfare, where quick adaptation and data fusion outweigh sheer firepower. Sanctions battered European economies, driving up costs and stoking public unrest, yet they failed to slow Russian advances or deter escalation. Tools that once gave NATO confidence now seemed clumsy against a battlefield shaped by asymmetric tactics and information warfare. Each misstep raises the stakes. Western credibility, economic security, and the core idea of deterrence are all on the line. If leaders continue to misjudge Russia's evolving playbook, the danger is not just military defeat, but a cascade of global crises that could spiral beyond control. As NATO leaders scramble for answers, the search for a new strategy grows urgent. But adapting to this transformed battlefield will demand more than just updated technology. It will test the West's unity and resolve. Is the world teetering on the edge of a new Cold War, or are we stumbling into an era far more unpredictable? The Russian precision strike that obliterated a covert Western-supplied missile cache in Kharkiv has already rattled Western capitals. Yet, the deeper consequences may be only beginning to surface. If Russia continues to escalate with asymmetric, intelligence-driven offensives, the danger to NATO's supply arteries, especially those snaking through Poland and Romania, will intensify. Western arms shipments, once considered secure, are now exposed as prime targets. The vital flow sustaining Ukraine's defenses has become a fragile lifeline, and each fresh attack threatens to erode the West's capacity to keep that support alive. These are not random provocations, but threads in a deliberate campaign. Russia is forcing NATO to stretch its resources and strain its response times, using intelligence fusion and unconventional tools to probe for weaknesses. Western leaders, long assured of their technological superiority, now face a stark reality. Their logistics and communications networks can be tracked, mapped, and struck with chilling precision. Under this mounting pressure, cracks are widening within Western governments. Arguments over funding, strategies, and the appetite for risk are spilling into public view. This discord drains both resolve and effectiveness, making it harder for NATO to act as a unified, formidable counterweight to Russian advances. Looking forward, military analysts warn that these hybrid tactics will not stop at Ukraine's borders. Russia's blend of intelligence, cyber-sabotage, and pinpoint strikes could soon reach deeper into the West, targeting energy grids, data networks, and other critical infrastructure. The volatility and reach of these methods threaten to outpace traditional defenses. Perhaps most unsettling, the old logic of deterrence, built on the threat of massive retaliation, no longer holds firm. In this battlefield, wars unfold through digital assaults, targeted strikes, and relentless information operations, not columns of tanks. The rules are shifting, and every actor is scrambling to adapt before the next blow lands. The stakes could not be higher. Energy markets might face fresh shocks. The security architecture painstakingly built in Europe since the last Cold War now hangs by a fraying thread. Daily life, from heating costs in Berlin to train safety in Warsaw, could be upended if escalation spirals out of control. So, what lessons should leaders, citizens, and keen observers draw from this inflection point? And how do we brace ourselves for the unpredictable road ahead? The next chapter asks, How are global powers recalibrating their strategies in real time? And what does this mean for the balance of power moving forward? The answers may redefine security for an entire generation. In today's wars, information strikes faster and deadlier than any missile. Are you reading the warning signs before the next crisis erupts? The Kharkiv precision strike is much more than a story of lost missiles. It is a blaring siren. Modern warfare is no longer about sheer firepower. Success now belongs to the side that fuses intelligence and action, reacting in seconds, often before the world even realizes a shot has been fired. But technology alone offers no guarantees. The West's dependence on advanced weapons and digital intelligence looked strong, but proved brittle against Russia's discipline and unified command. One leak, one miscalculation, and billions of dollars in hardware can vanish in moments. This is a harsh truth. Without trust and strategic cohesion, even the most sophisticated arsenals can be rendered useless. For years, Western leaders have leaned on the same old playbooks: economic sanctions, familiar doctrines, predictable tactics. The Kharkiv attack exposes the danger of such over-reliance. When adversaries innovate, clinging to yesterday's methods can invite disaster. These shocks extend well beyond the front lines. Every unexpected move in this conflict sends tremors through energy markets, rattles economic confidence, and forces nations to rethink their security. Staying alert to these changes is no longer just wise. It is vital for anyone seeking to anticipate disruptions that could reshape life across the globe. In a world of rapid escalation, trusting official narratives is risky. What comes next demands sharper questions, skepticism toward information gaps, and a grasp of how intelligence, technology, and surprise now decide outcomes. Those who understand these new rules can see what others miss and act before it is too late. Your vigilance matters. If you notice unusual military activity or hear reports ignored by mainstream outlets, share them below. Open-source insights from watchers like you help fill the blind spots, giving us all a better chance to read the terrain before the next shock hits. Adapt to this information-driven era, and you might foresee and even soften the next crisis. Fail to do so, and you risk being blindsided overnight by events that upend the balance of power. The Kharkiv strike is not an isolated incident. It signals a broader shift in how conflicts unfold. To understand what comes next, we have to rethink how intelligence and innovation are shaping the new battlefield. The next turning point will not announce itself. It will arrive in silence. Will you sense it before it strikes? The Kharkiv attack was more than a dramatic headline. It was a warning to those lulled by routine. The greatest threat is believing that seismic changes will be heralded by alarms and grand declarations. In truth, these shifts unfold while most are distracted by noise and surface narratives. To be caught off guard now is to risk more than surprise. Entire economies, energy markets, and the safety of millions can pivot in a single night. Those who wait for official explanations will always trail those who read the deeper currents. The exposed missile arsenal was not just a loss of hardware. It signaled dangerous overconfidence in technology and disunity within NATO. Meanwhile, Russia's fusion of intelligence with precision warfare is quietly rewriting the rules, with devastating results. Staying ahead means looking beyond the obvious. Ask, who is adapting quicker? Who is mastering the new landscape of war and information? This is not a moment for passive consumption. It demands vigilance, analysis, and relentless questioning. The next shockwave will not wait for permission to begin. Only those who track the silent moves will be ready for what is coming. To fully comprehend the magnitude of the Kharkiv strike, let's put it in historical perspective. Think back to the early days of the Second World War, when the Allies were caught off guard at Pearl Harbor. That attack, like the Kharkiv strike, was not simply a tactical blow. It was a seismic intelligence failure that forced a complete reassessment of strategy, resources, and alliances. History teaches us that one unanticipated move can shift the course of an entire conflict. Consider another modern example: the cyber attacks on Estonia in 2007. Overnight, a wave of coordinated digital assaults crippled government services, banking, and media across the country. Like today's missile strike, these attacks exposed not just technical weakness, but a dangerous underestimation of the adversary's capabilities. Estonia responded by investing in cyber defense and international cooperation, but only after vital systems had been paralyzed. The Kharkiv attack, in its timing and precision, is a 21st-century echo of such historic shocks. It reveals that even the most advanced military alliances can fall prey to leaks, complacency, or a single gap in vigilance. In an era where data moves faster than troops and drones can surveil battlefields in real time, the consequences of a single intelligence breach multiply exponentially. Now, let's examine what practical steps Western powers might take to avoid a repeat of this disaster. First, intelligence protocols must be overhauled. This means not just encrypting communications, but also routinely testing for internal leaks with red team exercises, simulated attacks where friendly agents attempt to breach security from within. The United States military, for example, regularly conducts such drills to uncover vulnerabilities before adversaries can exploit them. NATO must adopt a similar, relentless approach. Second, supply chain secrecy needs to be elevated to the same priority level as frontline defense. During the Second World War, the Allies went to extraordinary lengths to mask the movement of materiel, using decoy convoys, false radio chatter, and even inflatable tanks to fool enemy reconnaissance. Today's equivalent might involve deploying misinformation, camouflage, and electronic decoys to confuse foreign surveillance. Third, Western alliances must foster deeper internal trust. The Kharkiv debacle suggests a mole or insider threat. Historically, the Cambridge Five in Britain passed secrets to the Soviet Union for years, undermining Western efforts across Europe. The lesson is clear. Background checks, loyalty assessments, and constant monitoring must be standard operating procedure, not afterthoughts. But this must be balanced against maintaining morale and unity among coalition partners. Paranoia can be as corrosive as carelessness. Fourth, resilience planning should extend well beyond weapons stockpiles. After the September 11th attacks, the United States government overhauled its critical infrastructure protection strategies, ensuring that banking, energy, and communications could withstand both physical and digital shocks. European governments should audit their own resilience, mapping out what would happen if key nodes, like the Polish railways or German power plants, were suddenly disabled by a cyber or kinetic strike. Now picture a scenario. A Western supply convoy is en route to a frontline depot. Instead of following a predictable route, its path is randomized daily, coordinated by encrypted messages sent through a mesh network that cannot be jammed by Russian electronic warfare. Drones fly overhead, not just scanning for threats, but broadcasting decoy signals to confuse enemy sensors. The convoy arrives undetected, the cargo intact, because every link in the chain was designed for deception and unpredictability. This is the future of logistics under fire. What about the political front? Western capitals must recognize that ambiguous, delayed communication after a crisis erodes public trust. After the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan, the government's slow and inconsistent messaging fueled panic and conspiracy theories. In today's information-rich environment, silence is itself a message, often one of confusion or defeat. Leaders need rapid, honest briefings to manage both domestic and international expectations. Transparency, even when it means admitting setbacks, is crucial to maintaining credibility. Let's also discuss the broader economic aftershocks. When Russia struck Kharkiv, global oil prices spiked within hours. This is reminiscent of the Suez Crisis in 1956, when a sudden disruption in supply routes sent shockwaves through Western economies. In today's interconnected world, a missile destroying a depot in Ukraine can raise heating bills in Paris or disrupt manufacturing in Milan. Western governments must develop contingency plans for energy and commodity volatility, strategic reserves, alternative suppliers, and demand reduction protocols all become tools of national security. On the digital front, the Kharkiv incident highlights the need for robust cyber defense. The NotPetya cyber attack, widely attributed to Russian actors, crippled shipping giant Maersk, costing billions of dollars and disrupting global trade for weeks. That attack exploited a single vulnerability in software used by thousands of organizations. Similarly, a single compromised terminal or data leak can lead to attacks on physical infrastructure, as we have just witnessed. All actors must harden their digital perimeters, continuously patch vulnerabilities, and train staff in operational security. To bring this into focus, imagine a European city, let's say Prague, experiencing a blackout after a cyber attack on its grid, just as tensions escalate in Ukraine. Trains stop, emergency services scramble, and panic spreads. Even if no missile has landed, the psychological and economic impact is enormous. The Kharkiv strike is a warning that such blended attacks, physical and digital, are not hypothetical, but imminent risks. Now, reflect on how Russia's approach has evolved. Instead of relying solely on brute force, its military planners blend data from satellites, signals intelligence, and human informants. During the Georgian conflict in 2008, Russian forces struggled with coordination and surprise. By contrast, in Syria and now Ukraine, they have demonstrated the ability to synchronize missile strikes with cyber disruption and propaganda, overwhelming defenders before they can react. Western militaries, by comparison, often suffer from interagency friction. Intelligence may be siloed, technology procurement slow, and decision-making hampered by bureaucracy. The Kharkiv incident should be a catalyst for reform, streamlining information sharing, empowering rapid response teams, and embracing artificial intelligence for real-time threat analysis. The future battlefield will reward those who can absorb data from thousands of sensors and act in minutes, not days. For civil society, there are also practical steps. Universities and research institutions, often targets for espionage, need to update their security protocols. Citizens should be encouraged to report unusual activity, not just in border regions, but in cyberspace as well. A neighbor's sudden interest in military logistics, a surge in phishing emails targeting local officials, or a drone flying near infrastructure, all could be early warning signs. Finally, the Kharkiv strike challenges us to rethink deterrence. During the original Cold War, mutually assured destruction kept both sides cautious. Today, ambiguity reigns. Small, deniable actions, be they cyber attacks, sabotage, or targeted strikes, can escalate quickly. Western strategists must develop a playbook for proportional response, one that deters without triggering runaway escalation. This means investing in both offensive and defensive capabilities, as well as diplomatic channels for backdoor communication. As global tensions rise, the lessons of Kharkiv are clear. Complacency is dangerous, and adaptation is survival. Each actor, state, institution, or individual has a role to play in reading the signals, closing vulnerabilities, and preparing for rapid change. If leaders and citizens alike can rise to this challenge, the next crisis may be met with resilience instead of shock. In closing, the Kharkiv attack is not just a story of a lost cache or a momentary intelligence lapse. It is a test of the entire Western system, its unity, its agility, and its willingness to learn from failure. The clock is ticking, and the next move will likely unfold in silence, with consequences that ripple around the world. Will you be ready to see it coming? The answer depends on how well we heed the warnings, adapt our defenses, and think beyond the obvious. The world has changed overnight. Let's make sure we are not the last to notice.